Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you. Coming at you with some more Zoodiac Radiant Typhoon. It's really easy to overlook this deck right now because it didn't get any new toys from the latest selection pack. It's not a Harmonia deck, right? And it's not like any of the new archetypes, but it is still, I think, one of the best decks in the current format. Pretty easy top 3 deck for me right now, or at the very least top 5. So we're going second against Branded here. I'm going to let them summon out the Fallen of the White Dragon using their Ecclesia before I use the Ash Blossom. And the rest of my hand is really looking dependent on this Vision or my top deck to find some live plays. After their Fallen of White gets negated, they are going to Nadir Servant for the Quem. Now they are going to use the Garura to draw a card. Set a card, Branded High Spirits. They're going to reveal and then dump the Quem as well as the Granganol. That's what that card's name is. Letting them add Cartesia. They can special summon Cartesia here, and they pass back over to me. So they're going to get to add the Ecclesia back during the end phase, and now it's my turn. Alright, since I have a second MST, I'm totally cool using one of them to pop the face down, and it's super poly. Very glad I did this here. They can only fuse with Cartesia during the main phase. So I guess they want to just do the fusion now, but of course they lose a card from hand in the process of doing that. Now we look here and see they discarded Ash Blossom, which totally tells me that they have another Ash Blossom in their hand. So 2 cards in hand are Ash Blossom and Ecclesia, and aside from Granganol, there's really not anything super relevant in their graveyard right now. So if I can just avoid triggering the Granganol effect, then we should be all good here. Alright, so the Albion's going to try to activate. I'm going to chain Radiant Typhoon Vision. Sure enough, they do have this other Ash Blossom. Now, I really need this Vision to resolve, so I'm going to use the Crossout Designator here, and then I'll throw Forbidden Droplet on this chain link as well, sending the Crossout Designator to negate the Albion. As I said before, now the Granganol is really the only thing I kind of have to worry about here, but I don't even know if I'll really even trigger the Granganol, right? Because it only activates when opponent's monster, special summon by your opponent's activated monster effect. Summon a Dogmatica monster from your deck or a Despia monster from your extra deck. Yeah, I don't even think the Granganol gets a chance to trigger here because they already have Quem out of the deck. So unless they're on Despia and Coritis, then yeah, I don't think Granganol even has anything to summon. So we do thankfully find Eldum as well as Ash Blossom off that Visions. We'll go Eldum for Swen, Swen for Ascendance. Then we can overlay into the Invoker. And this is why I say I'm pretty sure the Granganol just didn't have any targets, because we're going to be doing a lot of summoning off of monsters' activated effects. First, the Invoker for the Rapier, and then we'll start chaining up some Zoodiac monsters in order to get our board all set up here. You know, people are like, oh, Broad Bull unban was a mistake, Broad Bull unban was a mistake, when really Rapier being at 3 is what's doing all the heavy lifting here. But I also am totally fine with where Radiant Typhoon is at right now. I think it's a really fair deck, you know, compared to a lot of other meta decks. And I'm really not sad to see it get this boost of power from Zoodiac. I'm also pretty biased because I like Zoodiac quite a bit from playing Zoodiac Tri-Brigade as my first ever competitive deck when Master Duel first launched. But okay, so here I'm going to go for the Broad Bull. I'm going to use Ascendance to revive Eldum. Now, we're going to go to battle phase. We'll attack directly with a 0-attack Broad Bull, and then I'm actually going to go to main phase too, because I could simply battle over the Albion, get some damage in, use the Draco Future to negate it during the end phase, but it's like, I don't know. The damage doesn't really mean that much, and if this is going to be a grind game where I'm not OTKing anyway, I'd kind of rather save the Draco Future materials. So I'm not going to battle with anything else. I'm actually just going to banish the Albion with the SP Little Knight. But of course, it's important that I did attack directly with the 0-attack. I called it Broad Bull earlier, I think. What is that card actually called? Boar Bow. Boar Bull. There's Boar Bow and Broad Bull. It's not confusing at all. But yeah, we get to make a 4-material Zeus. It's been so long since I've ended with a Zeus on my board, but this one is capable of wiping the board not once but twice. Of course, we're going to try to avoid doing that while we have our other boss monsters on the field. They're going to special summon Ecclesia, I'm going to let that resolve, totally fine, because I expected Fallen of Albaz to come down here. And Albaz really can't do anything to me because we'll just banish it out with the Little Knight. Now, they did send a Tri-Brigade Springen's kit, which of course will allow them to revive another monster, but again, it's really not going to make that much of a difference. I'll let them grab the Fallen of the White Dragon so I can negate and steal it here with the Draco Future, and they're going to concede knowing that they are definitely cooked after that. I mean, technically their Fallen of Albaz does come back to their field on the next turn, but obviously I am still way ahead. Even if I still can't finish the duel on the next turn, there's no way they can find one top deck that gets them out of this. Not even counting the Ash Blossom in my hand here too. So yeah, there's that first duel against Branded. Let's go and take a look at the next one. All right, now for this game, we're going to be up against Branded Tier Limits. It's a 60 card variant. And we are going first this time. So we've got the Varun and the Chant. So we're going to use Chant to get our plays going here. We'll grab the Eldum, and we'll special summon Varun, because why not? There's no reason not to here. I mean, there might be reasons, but they're few and far between. All right, we'll go Eldum for Swen. We'll special summon the Swen, grab the Ascendance, and then we're going to overlay for the Invoker. Although, doing it this way, I did not get my Crocea into rotation. However, if I had added Crocea off of the Eldum, then I would have been locked into Wind and I couldn't do Zoodiac stuff. If I couldn't Swen for Chant because I already chanted for Swen. So yeah, I kind of think I had to do it this way. So no access to Crocea this turn, which is a little bit unfortunate, but I think having the Zoodiac stuff is a lot more impactful. The Utopic Draco Future is such a strong negate. You've got the Trident for popping cards, and we can still add more stuff to our end board here. All right, we're going to go for the Ascendance, reviving the Eldum that's in our graveyard, and then I'm going to link Eldum and Varun into the Varun Link 2. Want to make sure that we have access to Mystical Space Typhoon since we have the Mandate in our hand. Now, because Mandate's in our hand, we don't have to go to the trouble of actually trying to get it on the field with the Varun Link 2. But I do need this Mystical Space Typhoon for the negate to be live. We'll link off the Varun with our leftover Invoker to make a Little Knight, set our whole hand of 4 cards, and then pass back over to the opponent. This end board's looking really solid. All right, they're going to lead with Tier Limit Scream, and then Normal Summon Springen's Kit. I'm going to flip up Mandate just to have it ready, but I'm not going to negate the kit, because in order to search, they're going to have to put a card from their hand back into their deck, and that's a good thing, obviously, right? I want them to have access to fewer cards, especially them grabbing Branded and High Spirits. I'm going to let that resolve too, but they actually revealed the Havness, which was pretty clever. Now they can not only add Fallen of the White Dragon, but Havness gets to activate here. I'll let it resolve. I have a plan for this Kit Kolos. I'm not concerned with it. My plan is that after the Kit Kolos is summoned and the Tier Limit Scream is triggered, I'm then going to flip up my Mystical Space Typhoon on the Scream. This will let me go Chainlink 3 Mandate on the Kit Kolos. So now Kit Kolos is negated, Scream doesn't get to mill. It can search a Tier Limit's trap card, but like, who cares? That's totally fine. I would much rather them search a trap card than mill 3, honestly. Not only that, but we also get to revive the Varun off of the Mystical Space Typhoon, which will give me another monster negate. They can add Tier Limit's Meta Noise. I truly do not care about that. Now here they're going to link off the Springen's Kit and the Kit Kolos into Moon of the Closed Heaven. But we're just going to use Trident to pop it before they even have a chance to go into Fiendsmith plays. Now they're going to special summon Fallen of the White Dragon, sending Albion. But I'll definitely just take this with the Utopic Draco Future. And now, even if they try to use Albion to search something during the end phase, we can just use Varun to negate it. They've got Incredible Ecclesia, they're going to special summon and then activate. Ooh, you know what? That Varun was a misplay. I didn't need to do that. Because if they were going to go for Fallen of Albaz, we can just use Little Knight on it. And if they were going to go for anything else, we could just droplet it. And like I just said, I should have saved Varun for the Albion effect during the end phase. Minor misplay on my part during the end there, but I don't think it really ultimately mattered. I mean, my opponent sure didn't seem to think so, right? So, all right, let's take a look at the next replay. All right, this next game is going to be up against Hero. It's got a lot of board breaking cards in it. I don't know if they're trying to go second, but it's a lot. It's like Raigekis, Super Poly, which isn't that unusual. But even another surprising one we'll see at the start of their turn. I'm going to go draw phase Chant for Eldum. And after we summon Eldum, we are going to get hit with the Maxi. I do have Droll and Lockbird in my hand, but obviously, you know, being on Radiant Typhoon, I need to do a lot of searching, right? Well, I don't need to do that much. I'm going to special summon Swen here. They're going to throw down the Imperm, and this totally justifies me throwing out the Droll and Lockbird here. Because before, you could make a debate that I would rather have the Swen search and give them an extra draw, then Droll them on my next summon. But here, if they're going to just Imperm my search anyway, yeah, I'll totally throw out the Droll here, leaving them on only 4 cards in hand as I continue to make plays. As usual, we're going to take our level 3s, overlay them into Invoker, and the cool thing about the Zoodiac line is that it doesn't need to do any searching. So this line, which would normally feed way too many draws into Maxi to ever be worth it, is now going to allow, or now, thanks to the Droll, I'm allowed to go off at full power with the Zoodiac stuff. So satisfying just watching that Maxi icon followed by the Droll and Lockbird icon every single time. You know, you can actually turn that off in settings, but this exact interaction right here is the also exact reason why I don't turn it off. It's too satisfying to watch. All right, so there's the Utopic Draco Future. We're going to take that Rapier, turn it into Broadbolt, and then Dryden. I could also put Borbo on and make a 3-mat Dryden. But I don't know, somewhere in the back of my head, I'm like, maybe there's a world where I need to Borbo later to be able to Zeus. So I'm going to special make Hala, normal summon the Fuelos, and then I'll link Fuelos away with the Invoker in order to make the Little Knight. And I am actually going to banish the Imperm out of the graveyard with Little Knight, just in case they're playing Dominus cards. I don't know. There's no reason not to here. The Meg Hala on the end board is actually really nice too, because it will allow us to use the Mystical Space Typhoon to pop a spell or trap card, and then we can also special summon the Varun out of our deck. That way we'd have a monster negate here too. But I told you they were on a lot of unique board breakers, including Sinful Spoils of Subversion Snake Eye with no other Sinful Spoils or Snake Eye cards in the deck. So, I mean, I guess that's plat deck building for you. I don't know. I don't mean to insult. That's not fun or fair. Anyway, yeah, after we go to use the Utopic Draco Future on our opponent, they are going to concede, which totally makes sense here. So yeah, that is going to, let's see, where are we at on time? Yeah, that's going to do it for the gameplay, I think. Let me go ahead and show you my deck list, and then we will finish off. All right, so here is my list for Zoodiac Radiant Typhoon. Now, there are a few different options you have as far as like your off engine in this deck. I really like having a playset of Forbidden Droplet. This card is extremely impactful in this format. I mean, it's no secret that board breakers are just really, really good in general right now. And I do think Droplet, if your deck can afford it, is definitely one of the better options. The reason that Droplet is so effective in a deck like Radiant Typhoon, as you actually saw during more than one of our games, if I remember right, is the fact that you can just send away these spell cards that you're activating, you know, at quick play speed. Forbidden Droplet really wants to be used in a deck where the cost of sending all those cards is mitigated, either by those cards wanting to be in the graveyard anyway, you relying only on one card that you'll consistently have access to go off it, or again in this case, if you're sending cards in the field that aren't making any or aren't of much use anyway, then you are cost mitigating there as well. So I am actually prioritizing Droplet in my current build over even the Fallen and the Virtuous, which, don't get me wrong, this card is also really, really good in this deck. Like I said, I just like the Droplet more. It's not even a matter of not having room in the extra deck, right? You could very easily cut the Typhoon and then some combination of like Skull Dread, Little Knight, or Race Fulgur. These are all, you know, definitely sort of filler spots in the extra deck that really I don't feel bad for cutting any of those for the Albion and Ecclesia. But again, it's less that I don't have room in my extra deck for targets for Fallen and the Virtuous, and more that I really do just like the Droplet a lot more. I think having so many 3-ofs is also really good for consistency. Like, I've seen builds on like 2 or even 1 MST. I've seen builds on 1 Vision. You know, that's totally fine. I've seen builds on like 1 Crocea. I don't think that's bad by any means, but having 3 of each of these cards really does help in the long term. Even 3 Crocea, you might not think that it has much use if your opponent goes first, but consider how many decks out there activate quick play spell cards. It's a really nice way to get some play set up for your follow-up turn on your opponent's first turn. And a lot of the time they're activating a quick play spell card, it's at such a point where they are not, they don't have a negate established on the board to stop you from resolving your Crocea. Even if they do Ash Blossom it, cool, that just means they won't have an Ash Blossom for your turn 1. That assumes, of course, that you have follow-up plays, but that's also really hand-specific at that point. All in all, I really do think that this is one of the more powerful decks of the current format. It's absolutely still tier 1. I think it's actually in the top 3 of the format, honestly, for me. I think it's right up there with both Branded and Cool Tune as one of the best decks right now. Even though it can't make use of Harmonia or any of the other new stuff, definitely don't sleep on it. It is still very, very solid. But I think that's about all I've got to say about the deck for the time being, so thank you so much for watching all the way to the very end. As always, I really do appreciate that. And we're going to move on to our outro so we can thank our YouTube members and Patreon subscribers, who I'm also always very appreciative of. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which, by the way, is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.